Initial information of The Green Knight. It is an adaptation of Sir Gawain and the Green Knight of the 14th century, and it is based around glorious chivalry, classic chivalric romance, and it is also a Arthurian romance with King Arthur and the knights involved. The character of Gawain is very different in the poem versus the film. From the start, Gawain is not depicted as noble or honorable, nor is he well known. He is only known for his sexual debauchery, he's throwing coin at women, he goes to the brothel a lot. He is not yet a knight. He questions his honor, his purpose, every decision. As Hardy puts it, he is less mature, less focused, and less at home with himself. And sexual debauchery is later also utilized all throughout the film for brothel to hostess to show Gawain's feelings. And even later on, we see that King Arthur and Gawain, unlike the poem, basically have no relationship. Arthur barely knows him at all. And unlike in the poem where he is essentially Arthur's shadow, or he is connected to Arthur without his own identity, this is exactly the opposite in the film. So Saint Winifred is one of the most original parts of the film. It is an original depiction of Saint Winifred. There was a big break in parallelism because as the poem did not have Saint Winifred in it, this is according to Michelle Wolf from the South Atlantic Review, the film removes the homosocial and political nature of the poem and delves into the sexual nature, sexual debauchery, sexual integrity. There's a lot of issues. Originally, it was Guinevere against Lady Berthelac, but they decided to age Guinevere up and instead replace her with Saint Winifred because Saint Guinevere had too many political ties with her. And this is a classic virgin versus seductress situation, and this is a challenge for Gawain's integrity, which is broken. His code of honor is challenged by Lady Berthelac, while Saint Winifred is supposed to lead him in the other direction, which did not work in the end. Lady Berthelac is successful in seducing Gawain, unlike in the poem where she is not. And in the poem, it is originally just kisses, but in this situation, it is full-on sex, and he fails. And Lady Berthelac is meant to represent his failings, while Winifred was supposed to represent his baseline of his integrity, which he failed at. And he even failed at pursuing chivalric instances of no rewards, and he asked for rewards or asked for payment, essentially, in many circumstances, just like the bands he interacted with earlier, and when he did not pay up, he was essentially left for dead. Of course, there are a lot of differences in the settings, characters, and relationships. First of all, the film is not focused on Arthur. His name is not mentioned. At the start of the film, it does say that this is not his film either. And the depiction of the court is dark, dreary, with both the king and queen aging, unlike what Camelot would be generally depicted as. And the men in Laurie's film are older and more accomplished, according to Crofton. There is a statement that is said by one of the characters to ask, why is greatness important? Is goodness not enough? Which subverts essentially all of the chivalric romances or whatever, because the task and the quest itself, what is the purpose of it? It is essentially a game, and Gawain's lover does say that this is essentially a game. And is this how men become great? Is this a real right? These are all questions that should be asked. Crofton argues of the absolute success in the placement of women as subversion of Gawain's character, placing women at the forefront, which I partially agree with. But there are also characters such as Saint Winifred, who is used as a plot device. But there are also ones that like Lady Berthelac, who have a much more substantial character in this regard. And also there are characters like Morgan Le Fay, who is the direct opposition in this case, other than the Green Knight. And this whole instance is her game. She is in control. So I do partially agree with what Crofton argues, but still not fully, as Saint Winifred is partially still used mechanically as a plot device for Gawain's success. The ambiguous ending is the biggest difference. Unlike the ending in the poem, the ending of the film is not clear at all. We know that the axe is dropped, but whether Gawain died is not clear. I'd like to say this is a possible death of the author situation, because the difference in character text, the debauchery, the sexual integrity, all of the integrity, the asking of payments, asking of rewards, all of that is different from the Gawain we know in the text, which is why perhaps to redeem himself, maybe he did deserve death to be the most honorable. Maybe that was the most honorable act, and maybe he should have died. But whether he died or lived is open-ended. And stated by Lady Berthelac after he broke whatever knight oath he had, or whatever integrity he had left, he is no knight.